Aloha friends and family, welcome back to the channel. What is our true nature as humans? What is our true nature? Are we sinners? Are we born flawed? Are we just the highest animal roaming the earth? What is your true nature? Perhaps the only way to answer the question would be to talk about the principles. Really, there's one, but in duality, we've come to understand that there's two. Right? Good and evil. But that's not a cosmic universal principle, because the cosmic universal principle is one creator, one creation. So what is our true nature then? Our true nature at our core must be that we are one. And if we would come into agreement with this, universal principle or law, we would ascend out of what has become the lower world, or the world of dualistic expression, where humans have been duped into believing that the universal cosmic truth is duality, is a dual principle, good and evil. But that's not a principle. That's an effect. And where do all effects come from? Cause. And what is the cause of every effect? Choice. So if we choose then to stay duped into living in a dualistic principle of good and evil, then it would be foolish for us to expect for there not to be plenty of manifestations of evil, right? Because we believe in it. We think it's normal. We've been taught and told that that's just the way it is. This is just the way it is. You can't do anything about it. Oh, wait a minute. I can't do anything about it? There's not a higher law or a truer law or an actual law of a unified cosmic principle of oneness, one creator, one creation. And there's no guile or malice found within him or it or they, however you want to see the expression of the creator. But we know that at the core, at prime source, there's no guile or malice. And then we know that the creator fractalized into male and female, divine masculine, divine feminine. And then we know that it fractalized further into human beings who take on the form of this divine masculine or divine feminine. This is polarity. So the creator fractalized into polarity, not duality. See, there's nothing inherently evil about polarity, right? Because do we say hot is evil and cold is good? No, it's just a polarity spectrum. And so there's no distinction or demarcation of where one stops and the other begins. It just gives us a way to use language to say fire is hot and ice is cold. That's not duality, that's polarity. But when we consciously take on a belief that the creator itself is dualistic, because good and evil are cosmic facts. Let's say there's no humans that existed. Would evil exist anywhere? Would anything evil be being chose to be done by, let us say, these birds in front of us? Well, you can't see them, but you can hear them. Would we see evil anywhere in the universe apart from humans? We wouldn't. We wouldn't. We only begin to see this thing that we're calling evil when humans with free will come into the picture. And even that, at that point, we still don't see evil. We only see evil come into the picture when? When does this evil enter the picture? When Adam and Eve, which is just a metaphor for all human beings, male and female, chose to partake of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. And at that moment, they left the garden, or they left the crown chakra, or they left heaven, and they went into a lower expression, a lower principle. And in this lower world, the principality, the prince of the power of the air that roams the earth, seeking whom it may devour. What is doing the devouring? The consciousness. It's devouring human consciousness, taking them out of the oneness, out of the heavenly state, out of the perfect garden that God created for them to exist in. And they go into this lower world, this lower state of dual principle, good and evil. But it's only so because of the choices that those humans themselves are making. It doesn't exist outside of that. So the Satan character that we've all been told so much about from religion, the Satan character, who and what is the Satan character? We can't see it with our eyes. It's not a being that's ever showed up and talked to someone. It's the state of every man that has lowered themselves into duality consciousness. I saw Lucifer cast from heaven and fell like a star to the earth. This is a picture, a metaphor of when man leaves his heavenly home, falls down through the chakras of his body into the lower chakras, into the lower world, to then perform good or evil. So you don't have to choose evil because you fell into the lower world, but we mainly see that, don't we? We mainly see that humans in duality consciousness usually and quite often choose to be the things that we call evil: selfish, murderous, envious, jealous, angry, spiteful, deceitful. So when they say that the devil roamed the earth seeking whom he may devour, it's not so much a literal being that it has some kind of power in and of itself, because all beings were created by the Creator. So if Satan is anyone or anything, it's man himself, because man himself is the one that chooses with his free will to do good or evil. So there's no, see, if there was some entity that had the power to go around and usurp people's free will, then nobody would be at fault for killing someone or doing any other evil thing, right? Because we could just say, well, this all-powerful, seemingly, entity that exists in and of itself overtook this person, sucked the free will out of them, and then started doing all this devious stuff through them. And what does religion call that? You know, possession, right? The demons entered the person, possessed them, and all this terrible stuff they did. Right? So are they really responsible for that then? Would they really be, are they held accountable? Like, who's gonna, the proverbial judgment day? Who's gonna show up on judgment day, stand before the Creator, the judge and the jury, and God, being all-knowing and all-powerful and all-seeing, would say, hey, well, none of those evil people are responsible for any of the evil stuff they did. This entity that came out of nowhere, overtook them, usurped their free will, and caused them to do all this evil stuff. So I'm not holding them responsible for that. That all falls to the devil. That's all the devil's fault. See, this is convoluted and crazy. So then we would never have any true justice. We would never, it's all bullshit. There's no way that that's the way it works. Every man has free will. There's no entity grabbing hold of people and causing them to do all kinds of evil stuff. And if there was, they wouldn't be responsible for it, right? Because if anything has the power to usurp your God-given free will, then you wouldn't be responsible for that. That wouldn't be something you could prevent, could you? So there's no way that that's how it works. The devil is merely a metaphor for humans choosing to believe that there is a dual principle in the universe and that dual principle is good and evil. And that they, again, I've said it in many videos, they're fighting with each other. They're in opposition to each other. They're in this eternal struggle but they're not. They're not. The only place this struggle is happening now is in duality consciousness, or the lower world. That's the only place that this struggle is happening. Most of the universe, 95% of the universe, let us say, it sees no such struggle happening. Why? Because there's one creator, and the one creator has created goodness. All throughout the universe, and everywhere we look in our telescopes, we see the beauty of that fact. But when we put our telescope down and we just look around ourselves, right here in this place, we see all kinds of evil. And where is it coming from? Once again, it's coming from humans that have the free will to choose to do good or evil. And seemingly, a lot of people seem to default toward evil. But is this not their free will? Is this not your free choice? So we must become obedient to the law of our true nature. And your true nature is not dualistic. Your true nature, our true nature, is unified, is oneness. Within this one universal principle that permeates the universe for the most part. But we see and we know that humans are God's highest expression. And with that highest expression came free will. So everything would be absolutely fine in this particular world right now had we not chose to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, where we took on this belief that evil is just as much of a true and, let us say, right principle governing the universe. Why would we think that evil governs the universe when we don't see that anywhere in the universe? We only happen to see it right here in this particular place, again, because the humans that are here are living in duality. They're living according to a dual principle. So it's no wonder there's so much evil here. It shouldn't be surprising to any world, let us say, if there were multiple worlds and we could go travel and visit them, we wouldn't expect to show up at a world that's living according to a dual principle and it be heaven on earth, right? But we would expect that if we showed up to a world living according to one principle, a unified principle, that world would be heaven on earth, right? And this world that we're in right now will become that heaven on earth again when we wake up to the fact that we've been duped into living and believing in this dual principle. We could say there's two gods of this world. There's God and there's Satan. But that's a lie. There is only God. And then there are humans with free will that chose to eat of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. And so then evil became a normal expression by those humans that chose to lower themselves into such a place. It's a very hard way to learn that unity and a unified principle is the best place to live, is the best way to go about as a human with free will. It's a real tough way to learn this lesson. And it takes many lifetimes, once you're in duality, to awaken to the dupe and come back to the unity. Come back to the one principle. I and the Father are one. I am. That's the one principle. That's the principle we should live by. And if we all did that, evil would magically fall away. Because someone living in a unified, singular principle is not going to choose with their free will to be devious, jealous, quick to anger, violent, murderous, power trippers. See, all the people in power, and this is a really lowered form of power, so I'm not giving it the props that true power would get. But in this slow, low vibration of third density, the people with the power, they express all these traits, don't they? Narcissism, egotism, power tripping. They want to disempower everybody that they perceive is under them. That's why cops break the Constitution all the time and violate rights all the time. That's why governors bust the Constitution all the time. That's why they want to disarm everybody, because they've got power over you. They have control over you. So in a world of duality, everything gets flipped on its head. Everything gets flipped upside down. Man is woman and woman is man. And even the Bible said, in the last days, those that are good shall be called evil and evil shall be called good. The last days of what? What does that mean? The last days of earth? The last days of existence? How about the last days of third density? How about the last days of duality being the governing principle of the world? See, duality is not going to be the governing principle of the world forever. And we are in the last days right now. Christ has returned and is returning. The awakening is happening. The filthy, corrupt government and governors are being called out and exposed. The corrupt cops are being exposed. And it's good, it's wonderful and great that this exposure is happening and that this corruption's being exposed. But I want to say that we've got to take it even further to expose what's behind it all. What's behind all of the corruption in this world. And it's living according to a dual principle, believing that good and evil runs the universe. It doesn't. The prime creator runs the universe. And he just so happens to have made worlds where humans with free will have free will. And if they choose evil and they choose duality and they choose a dual principle, you're gonna end up with a world exactly like this one became. It's gonna end up being as shitty and messed up as this one became. Any world where humans eat of that fruit. That's a big, big test for any human. And I'm inclined to say that we all failed it, and we all would fail it. And it's not all bad. Don't hear me wrong here. It's not all bad, because if you're prone and inclined to fail at such a test, then you enter a reincarnation cycle and you live multiple lifetimes where you gather this slow learning. You go through this slow learning, slow and painful learning process, where over the course of time you begin to see that all those devious things that humans choose to do are not good, not right. And they lead to ultimately a world like this one. And so when we finally all awaken to that, we say, oh, wow, man, this world's effed up to the max. We're living in the ultimate clown show. This is all wrong. This is all messed up. But what's at the root of it all? What's at the heart of it all? And I'm here to tell you, man, and if I'm wrong, call me out. It's that we're living in a dualistic principle within ourselves that then manifests in the outward realm as a bunch of people running around doing good and evil. And it seems like evil's kind of popular in this world, right? I mean, every leader out there, supposedly, right, is corrupt as hell. And so they must be choosing evil then, right? They must be narcissistic power trippers that want control and dominion over other people. Who in their right mind would want dominion and control over any other person? Nobody in unity consciousness wants any kind of control over any other person for any reason. It's ludicrous. Every man, every woman is a sovereign, God-created being with the inherent, built-in free will. And see, when you're living in duality, you think that free will means you get to choose between good and evil. If you're in unity consciousness and you have free will, you don't see your free will as being a choice between good and evil. You see your choice as being a choice of goodliness and godliness. And although we are still here bodily, even when we ascend out of duality consciousness, we're still here bodily. But your entire world changes. And you're actually living in an altered state to a large degree, because you're no longer tied to duality. You're no longer responding to things that happen around you from duality consciousness. You're no longer responding according to the old thought patterns and beliefs that you had when you were firmly entrenched in duality consciousness. You're completely set free. Although we still be here bodily, we must become obedient to the law of our true nature. Our true nature is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control, and I always add abundance and health to the list. The list is found in the Bible, by the way, except for the two I just added. That's our true nature. That's our true nature. So if you're having struggles in this crazy circus we live in, meditate, my friends. Meditate on your true nature. Remind yourself as much as you need to. Become convinced. The Bible says, let every man be convinced in his own mind. Become convinced, my friend, that your true nature is a unified principle. And then you will no longer be living in a world of a dualistic principle. And you will be set free. Although we still be here bodily, and that is the challenge at this moment. The most challenging thing you're gonna ever face in your entire life is one, coming out of duality consciousness, and two, being here bodily after you do. Because it is a challenge. Trust me on that one. And any of you that's having this experience know full well that that's the fact. So we leave you in the love, unity, and the light of a unified principle that is our true nature, until we meet again, my beautiful friends and family.